But like you were like, oh, I don't have time to read the jar. You got time to poop? Hello and welcome to JudgeCast. This is episode 356. I'm one of your hosts, Bryan Perlman, and I am joined this evening, afternoon, morning drive to work by the one and only Charles Feather.
Hello, hello.
And the one and only Marcos Sanchez.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. And in this very special episode, we are going to be covering what can best be summed up as, so you're now an L1, now what? You know, we all get to that point. We study, we learn the CR, we take some practice tests, we do a draft or a pre-release, and then we twist the arm of some L2 to giving us a test. We pass. They give us a review that's like, welcome to L1, great job, maybe. And then now we're L1, and then we're just kind of set adrift. And so this episode, we wanted to talk about things that we think a brand new little BBL1 should know. So is there anything y'all want to add before we dive into it?
Yeah, I think a big part of this came from just general observations that I think the three of us have all had over the last few years, realistically, where so much of what once was judging was so centralized in the past and is not as centralized nowadays that we're noticing just a lot of people coming up in the ranks who have a lot of knowledge gaps. Not necessarily of their own fault. Like, sometimes the question genuinely is like, where do I even go for this? I don't know where to get started. I think that's a big part of the impetus for this episode is let's give you a resource to say where you can get started now that you're here and now that you're part of the club, I guess.
Y'all can't see me, but I'm nodding my head vigorously with Marcos in time with his his points, especially the points about knowledge gaps. You know, it's not intentional. It's not something where we feel like people are just simply abandoning new L1s, but there are new L1s out there with questions, and we want to make sure that you have these types of answers in advance. And we're going to try and outline some of that for you tonight.
Right. And as judges that have been doing this for a hot minute, I think together we have 30 plus years of experience between the three of us. And It is very likely, or is very possible, that we from time to time forget that maybe people don't know what a good review looks like, or maybe don't know how to enter events in judge apps, or why you would even want to. Right? Like these are things that just come up. There's a whole lot of, I'll say, institutional knowledge that's not necessarily written down anywhere. So what we want to do,
or sometimes it is, and we just don't know to look for it or where it might be.
Like, we're going to record this podcast and we're going to convey a lot of institutional knowledge, but if you don't know that JudgeCast is the bestest judge-related podcast in the entire world, then you won't necessarily know where to go. So what we're going to do is, for this episode, we are going to assume that you have taken your L1 test, you have passed, the appropriate person with the appropriate organization has blessed you, and then you are cast adrift, you are set adrift into the sea of unimaginables.
I was going to say you were unleashed upon the world, but, you know, depends on how you went about the process, I guess.
Was it the H.P. Lovecraft line is like, you live on a placid island of ignorance, and it was not meant that you should voyage far. No, we want you to voyage far.
Wow.
We want your little placid island of ignorance to be the opposite of placid and the opposite of ignorant. Okay.
I know you're joking here, but for real, just blanket statement this out there. Ignorance is okay. Willful ignorance is not. That's the whole point of the episode, I think.
Yeah. It's okay. What's the there's like an XKCD thing where it's like, everything you learn, there's a day that you learned that thing, right? Yep. So hopefully today is a day that you learn we teach you some stuff. All right. So what's first?
Well, first of all, is starting with the actual organization that brought you into L1-ness in the first place. So if you have become an L1 at this point, that means you've done so as part of an organization. And one of the big things that a lot of people struggle with sometimes is trying to understand what the organization expects from them. Each organization is different. I will be very frank with you. I don't know too much about all the organizations around the world that are certifying judges at this exact moment. I know Judge Foundry pretty well because, hey, I happen to be a member of Judge Foundry. IJP, the International Judge Program, another one of the largest, I think the largest judge program overall.
Geographically,
but
and
again,
number speaking, yes.
Yes. But I don't interact with them, so I don't know what the ins and outs or what the expectations are of their members and how they want to go about things. But there is some commonalities between all of the judge programs that are out there, or at least all the certifying organizations. First of all is they all have a website of some sort, and they all have some sort of regional leadership, whether that's, in Judge Foundry's case, an elected board, any other type of regional leadership that is down to even, again, in Judge Foundry's case, they have things like regional advocates, which I happen to be one of those for the Southeast in the USA. And they're all leaders to help people who are getting into the organization get a better understanding of what's here for them, what they can do now that you're part of this club, quote unquote.
Yeah, and not just that, but the IJP, the International Judge Program, they also have regional leaders. Presumably, if you took a level 1 test, you took that level 1 test through Judge Apps. Okay? Judge Apps is, for the vast majority of these organizations, I think nearly all of them, they use Judge Apps as their testing platform. So you should already have a Judge Apps account. Now, having a Judge Apps account is something that is common. You just have an account. You do not need to be a member of any organization to create an account. Okay. However, you should be set up when you joined your organization. You set up your account to be part of that organization. But when you are in Judge Apps and you fill it out and you specify your location, that location is tied to some form of regional leadership. So you have, through Judge Apps, if you have nowhere else, you have a platform to know who your regional leadership is for that respective organization.
Yep, okay. And we'll talk a little bit more about Judge Apps as a whole in our upcoming section of this. But there are also going to be some form of communication hubs that are going to be prevalent among your area, among your region, and among your program. Some people prefer Facebook, some people prefer Discord, but some people prefer the forums in Judge Apps. All of these are types of hubs where people that are members of this group can get together and just be together, share things with each other, help each other out. Because if there's one thing that we do as judges, it's we try to help each other out whenever and wherever humanly possible.
Hang on.
So
before we move to the connected stuff, I do want to mention that the various organizations, when we say there are expectations of you. Okay. IJP, Judge Foundry, a few other organizations, they have maintenance requirements. Things you have to do on a yearly basis to maintain your level. Okay. Generally speaking, if you are active as a judge, you are going to hit those requirements fairly easily, especially as an L1. Those requirements are very often just existing in a magic context a certain number of times a year. Okay.
Yeah.
That is one of the things. Judge Foundry has an annual board meeting where you get to vote on things, but you want to be aware of before we start getting into Facebook and Discord and stuff like that, they all have well, I say they all, IJP and Judge Foundry have newsletters. Okay? If you do nothing else, subscribe to those newsletters. Okay.
Yeah, and one more to add on to that. You're probably also bound by some sort of, I don't want to say code of conduct, because not every organization has a strict like code of conduct, violate this, you get in trouble thing, but everybody has bylaws or a code of conduct or something that tells you what are the ways that you can interact with this organization and ways that you might be removed from the organization for some reason or other. Also something you want to be mindful of, because you don't want to do something dumb and then realize, oh, now I can't be a member of this organization because of it. It's very few and far between, but again, another thing to just be aware of is a thing for some groups.
Yeah. So the next big thing is when you figure out what the organization expects from you. But as I talked about our little placid island of ignorance, we need to get off of that. And one of the ways to get off of that is to get connected with other folks.
Sure.
What are some ways that we can get connected with other folks?
Well, the neat thing
What
is
are the communication channels out there?
Yeah.
Yes, go on.
The neat thing is if you've been actively working towards becoming a level 1 judge and you've just made it, you've probably already made inroads on some of this. The list of what's out there is wide ranging, but there are some platforms that are better than others. Discord is has become in recent years one of the principal platforms for people to use because it's synchronous. It's also a little bit asynchronous, so you can chat real time or you can leave something hanging out there and come back to it later. It has multiple servers, which you can think of as different groups if you've never used Discord before. Oftentimes TOs will have their own servers, so groups like Pastimes, which runs MagicCons, Star City Games, your local game stores probably also have their own server with their own rooms. I'm a member of several store servers in my local area, and Discord overall is just a great way to get connected with both with TOs and players, because players will also flock to these different servers. After Discord, there's Facebook, and I know that Facebook is tired. I know that a lot of people don't use Facebook anymore for various reasons, but it is also time-tested and works. We have a lot of different groups in Facebook that service judges and service players and service events and the Magic community. So turning a blind eye towards Facebook is not necessarily cutting off one of the different not necessarily cutting your nose off to spite your face, but it isn't great either. So if you just have an account and only use it for Facebook to communicate with other judges or to find out about events, more power to you. The next one that I've got on my list is Twitter and BlueSky, which for all intents and purposes in terms of functionality are pretty much the same thing, at least from our perspectives. They're both interesting. They're good for news flashes and things that are happening around the area. The other thing that they're also good for, unfortunately, is getting one-off rulings about weird effects and different comprehensive rules issues that sometimes come up. The comp rules are great. They're amazing. They contain so much information, and yet they don't cover every instance. And every once in a while, Matt Tabak will rule from on high and say something works a certain way. And being tuned in that way is a good thing. Instagram and others like it, you can use it if you want to talk about your gelato, but I don't think it's particularly relevant to most judges. There's also judge apps, which I include in the social media and getting connected thing because it has forums. And forums, I don't know how well they're used now, but forums are an amazing resource that you can use to get connected with other judges and have discussions about certain topics. So I encourage you to check out judge apps. And
I want to hype up the forums a little bit for a few reasons. One, your respective organization has official and unofficial announcements for that respective organization. So much like I said, hey, there's a newsletter. those official announcements. And Judge Apps is set up to send, that you can configure it to send emails. So if you want to say, I want an email when someone makes an official announcement from these forums to go out there. Or if there's a particular forum that you like, you can configure it to send emails, and that is in your the forum communications. Okay. One of the things that I really like about the Judge Apps forum is where, this is me being old man for a second, which is funny because Charles is older. Where Charles was saying like, hey, Discord's great because it stores stuff. There's a lot of noise on Discord.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Forums tend to have a very high signal to noise ratio, whereas Discord has a high noise to signal ratio. You know, like, it is very easy to follow a conversation and have and get information out of a forum post much easier than Discord. However, here's the thing. Since Discord is more immediate, that tends to be used more. Okay? And so typically what I'm going to suggest is the pattern, at least for Judge Foundry, is join the Judge Foundry Discord and then ask people, hey, where's my regional Discord? And someone there will send you the link, and you go into the regional Discord, and then you go, hey, where, what's the pastimes link? What's the this? And you can go and get information there. Like, use your regional information hub, and I guess we'll include show note links in the show notes here, but use that as kind of like your jumping off point, because a lot of people are in that organization Discord.
Right. Also, seek out, if you're in Discord, seek out Gathering Point. That's a good generic one size fits all services, globe type Judge Discord servers. The thing that I want to point out with Discord in comparison to Judge Apps is this. When you're interested in working for different groups, you would expect that Judge Apps will be the tool that different TOs will beat a path to your door on. And it's not as much the case as it used to be. If you're tuned into Discord, you're probably going to see more judge solicitations that way. But definitely use both so that you don't miss something.
Here's what I'm gonna say. A lot of smaller events. So Judge Apps does have a mechanism for posting events.
Yes.
All right. And soliciting events. The larger TOs, the Pastimes and the Star City Games, and a few other from Europe. I don't know if NRG does, but they tend to deal with so many judges. It's such a high volume. They do not want to rely on a third party system to get all that information. And maybe they want to protect their information because they, since they're dealing with so many people, they don't want to run the risk of other people being able to, like admins or whatever, being able to look in their special sauce. Whatever. So they've constructed a system that works for them that is outside of Judge Apps. However,
Google Forms.
If you are
Google Forms.
What's that?
Google Forms.
Yes. They use Google Forms. However, if you are, let's say, if you've been listening to this for a while, you know that I run Command Fest. Okay, I'm not going to fart around with fancy Google Forms. The spreadsheet, the CSV that Judge Apps generates is A-OK fine by me, and I'll just generate that way.
Yep.
And send people that link. Works. So for smaller stuff, but from smaller stuff I mean store level all the way up to ballroom magic, Judge Apps is fine.
It's great. Yeah, it's great.
Yep.
One last thing I want to throw in on the Discord thing too is I'll even preface this with my stance on it. I'm actually personally not a huge fan of Discord. It's not my favorite style of interface, and Bryan is 100% right. There is a lot of noise in there. However, I cannot doubt how awesome it is for being able to access information and communicate with people. So it is a very, very necessary thing, I think, nowadays, as opposed to other things were in the past. But one thing about Discord is also there's probably some really important regional things for you there as well. I hype this because, for example, I'm the regional advocate for the Southeast region of the U.S. in Judge Foundry, and there's a specific Discord made for the U.S. Southeast that if you're a member of that area, you can jump in there. Don't worry, we're not checking membership cards at the door. Just if you're in the Southeast, come in and hang out and talk with other judges in the area. And it's a really great way for you to see other people who are not just like in your country, but might be like in your state or even your section of your state if you're in a huge state like Florida, for example. So that's also really helpful.
Okay. So we talked about being on social media, and that includes Twitter, BlueSky, Facebook, various groups where judges hang out, Magic players hang out. One thing that you might want to know is how to now manage your social media presence. Because like it or not, when you become a level 1 judge, when you have a title now, you are, and this may, some of you may find it funny, but you're now a figure of authority in your local community. And at like just the title level 1 judge, capital J, you can hear it, okay? You are now responsible, or now your actions reflect on the community of judges.
Whether you like it or not.
Yep.
Yeah, and so you want to realize that you may need to change how you engage with folks in a public setting. Okay, especially when it involves Magic facing. If you want to go on to, whatever Facebook group and yell about, I'm trying to think of something that people get extremely passionate about and doesn't really matter. If you want to argue that, was it David Cornsweat is a better Superman than Henry Cavill, okay, first, you're correct. And two, you feel free to get as passionate as you want to about that particular topic. Doesn't have anything to do with Magic. You can call the Cavalrines or the Cavill fans, complete and utter idiots. That's fine. That's not going to reflect badly on judges. But if you're doing anything that sniffs near Magic, you need to at least maybe check what you're going to write before you hit send or post or tweet or whatever.
That's just great social media presence rules in general, realistically. Like, you still represent yourself. Think about what you post.
Yeah.
Wheaton's Law always applies.
Yeah.
And people and TOs are going to start looking at you as an expert. And you might be going, well, I'm just a level 1. I just got, that doesn't matter. You got that capital J judge title. You're now an expert. And people are going to start coming to you for help.
An expert is also relative to everyone else around you. Like, yes, you might, only, and I hate that word, but in this instance, but only be a level 1. But guess what? You are the highest certified judge in that store, period. You are the expert. By default, you earned it.
Yeah. It's all good information. Social media is great and all, and we could spend probably a whole another episode talking about it in general, but
and we have in the past as well.
We really don't need to. So what's the next thing on our list?
Okay, so one thing that L1s might be very surprised by is the speed at which information comes out and gets consumed and then just gets incorporated into the zeitgeist. Okay. When Tabak tweets or whatever BlueSky posts a thing, it'll be the topic of discussion for a day or two, and then it'll just get consumed, and then people won't talk about it anymore. Okay. And so information comes out in spurts, and there's so much information, especially when it's in Discord and stuff like that, it starts becoming hard to find. So paying attention to information as it comes out, or what I would say is try and pay attention to all information that comes out until you can learn what you can safely ignore. Okay, setting up a media consumption habit is a good idea as it pertains to Magic stuff. And the reason why I say that is because the pace in which things come out is very fast. And it is actually not uncommon for judges who have been judges for years to be in a conversation and they make a statement and you're just like, that's not a game loss. That's just a warning. Well, when they change that, you go, well, Toby had a blog post in 2019 and they said this and the person's like, oh crap, I've been a judge since 2015. So they missed like one blog post 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm not saying that you need to like completely obsess over everything, but you do kind of want to routinely check in. If you disengage for a month or 3 or 6, then it becomes that much harder to catch up on things because you don't necessarily know what you missed. And there's not a release notes for, or a handy dandy checklist rather, of all the things that have changed. That's actually why I kind of have mentioned multiple times the newsletter from Judge Foundry, because often that is a monthly list of things that changed.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's okay to take social media breaks and to step away from certain things for a period of time. Just be aware that things continue whether you're paying attention or not. So, all right. So next up, let's talk about a larger category of just rules and policies. So you're an L1 now. Hooray, you did it. You passed the test. You've shown that you know stuff. And as we've already alluded to, you are now viewed as an expert in all things Magic rules and policy. In fact, I can't tell you how many times players at my local game store will ask me, hey, what would happen in this scenario? Or I had a question about this, just out of kind of the blue. So when you are seen this way, it's really important to make sure that you are keeping up on and sharp on your rules and policy. You should already know where the jar is, for example, because you're a level 1, you were tested on such, and I'd like to think that it's practically impossible to pass the L1 test without understanding the jar. So.
No, it is very easy. I'm gonna make this. Here's a secret. It is very easy to pass the L1 without knowing what's in the jar. The jar is on the test. It's because the jar is so common sense approached. You can just apply read them and be like, common sense applies. Okay.
Yeah, that's fair. If you haven't, read the jar, please. The Judging It Regular document.
What's that saying? The best time to have read the jar is in studying for L1. The second best time is today. So if you haven't read the jar, it's a page and a half.
Yeah. It's very easy to understand. It's intended to be the most helpful, easy to digest rules document in the game, period. Everything else we're going to talk about can go way deeper and require a lot more philosophizing and wholehearted discussions over hours with your friends. Like, it can get pretty crunchy. But at the very least, the jar is the bare bones minimum of what you feel you should do at most of the events you're going to run, or you're expected to run as a level 1 judge.
You can do it while pooping.
You can.
It is one poop's worth of reading material.
That's such a dad thing to say, but you're
not
wrong.
But like you're like, oh, I don't have time to read the jar. You got time to poop?
Study Habits by Bryan Perlman.
Friends, this is why you tune in.
What? I mean, please don't make that the bumper.
Of course that's going to be the bumper.
No.
I mean, seriously?
So awkward.
Give me something better then.
We do. I don't know if YouTube, demonetizes you. Not that we are monetized or anything, but don't they do something if you talk about poop within the first 15 seconds?
Yeah, you get listened to more.
Yeah.
But seriously, guys, so when we're talking about rules and policies, the one big resource that you should always have is, honestly, an app. There is an app for Android. There's an app for iOS. I believe on Android, it is called JudgeCore, and I believe it's V2. JudgeCore V2. I'm an Apple guy, so I don't use that one, but I've heard of JudgeCore plenty from all of my Android friends. So JudgeCore V2. Or on iOS, huge fan of the app called MTG Guide. Fantastic app. All the resources you need are right there. They all include quick and easy access to all of the judging policy and rules documents that you need. You want the comprehensive rules in your pocket? Bam. Download these apps. You got it right there when you need it, which is typically when you're on the floor at your local game store or judging your first con. You're going to need to access that. So those are really, really helpful apps to have on your phone.
It is not free, though. I believe Judge Core is free. MTG Guide is not.
MTG Guide is free.
MTG Guide is not free.
It might be that I downloaded it so long ago that I don't remember paying for it, but let's see.
Yeah, we're now, listeners, you get to hear us all type into our respective mobile devices, except for Charles, who doesn't have. If you already have it, it doesn't tell you what the price is.
I was gonna say, yeah, that doesn't help me. Yep. All right, even if it costs you money, which actually, now that I think about it, it might have. It's the best, like what, $2 or however much even if you have to spend like $10.
No, it's up to $8 now.
Fine, trust me, it's so worth it. They're very responsive. They update everything very quickly. The developer is very responsive to the point that like I've personally reached out to the developer in the past, asked them to add a feature, and it was added not immediately, but after it was tested and done and managed correctly, it was out there and it's very useful. So even if you have to pay for it, it's worth it. It's an investment in you being successful and having access to what you need super quick and easy. I can't tell you how often I'm using MTG Guide on the floor of every single event I work at.
Okay, so there's a few other docs that you might need to know. There is a multiplayer IPG addendum, which is for if you are unfortunate enough to get roped into a CEDH event that uses that plays at competitive REL as opposed to the bracket 5. You can tell that I'm down on it. Friends don't let friends judge CEDH.
Where were you 2 years ago?
What? Hey Marcos, what's one of your favorite things to do?
I love CEDH stuff. To that point, actually, there's a lot of multiplayer documents out there. Some are better than others. I'm not going to put any specific documents down. I think there are actually there's definitely more than one good document out there for sure. But I'm personally a big fan of the MTA, which is a multiplayer tournament addendum, and that is I'm a big fan of it because I also happen to be on the committee that helps write and form these rules for CEDH. So
friends don't let friends write CEDH documents.
I'm extremely biased, I will say, to that particular document, but I do think it is extremely successful at what it's trying to do, assuming you're crazy enough to want to do that, which I will actually kind of just say a little asterisk here. If you're an L1, maybe don't just jump right into CEDH level events, because that is taking the rules of the IPG and trying to break them to be able to make something that doesn't work within the IPG work. And it's really tough to apply rules that you might not be super familiar with yet and apply them in ways that are broken. It's just, it's jumping to the end fight with Ganon when you first load up Breath of the Wild. Just, you can do it. You're going to have a bad time. Right now, a lot of level 1 judges struggle with trying to get competitive experience. And because CEDH, the term CEDH, includes competitive and it's run at competitive REL, people assume that they can use that to round out their competitive experience to try to work towards level 2. I'm so sorry to tell you, it's not going to help you out as much as you might think. And in fact, it might actively hinder your progress. So just be very mindful about what you're doing. If you decide to go to CEDH, if you have any questions on that, ping me in the Discord. I'm happy to chat with you about it, but that's all I'll say about it on here.
Okay. Another item is you may hear people talk about a thing called a judge kit. Okay. This is really just a fancy term for the stuff you bring to an event that you think you're going to need. And if this is a pre-release, It might simply be snacks and a water bottle. Okay. If it is a larger event, it might be something like pain relievers, Gold Bond. You'll know after the first event. Deodorant, snacks, pens, phone charger, that kind of stuff. It's basically a purse. Okay, that's what it is. Your judge kit is a purse. Anything that could go in a purse can go in a judge kit. There you go. I know that typically most judges are guys, and guys don't carry purses, but your judge kit, it's a purse. Only it looks like a backpack.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, that's the best way I've ever heard somebody sum up the concept of a judge kit.
It's a purse.
Whatever you need to take care of yourself. And I think that's the big thing. Why do you even bother with this? It's so you have a good time doing what you're doing, and so that you're not suffering through. Just take care of yourself. That is a common motto that you'll hear at every event that is multi-judge, any event that has like a judge manager there. One of the first things I always say is you need to take care of yourself. Hydrate, get off your feet, take care of yourself. That includes making sure you don't stink, making sure you feel comfortable walking around for 12 hours a day on a concrete floor. Whatever it is that you need to feel comfortable and okay throughout the day, that should be in your judge kit.
Yeah.
And when we say snacks, we don't mean a bag of Tootsie Rolls and some Hershey Kisses or M&Ms. We mean like actual food, because as Marcus just mentioned, sometimes you're on the floor for 12 hours or at an event for a fair length of time. If you're all by yourself and it's a store level event and it's 6 rounds and cuts as top 8, you may not get a full round break in those types of situations. The TO should be feeding you, by the way. Negotiate that. They really should. Negotiate that. But it may be that you work 4 or 5 hours before you have a break. And if you're the kind of person that gets peckish, make sure you've got a granola bar or something reasonably healthy and will sustain you for a little while.
So I'm going to tell you,
keep you full.
I'm going to tell you what's in my jurse, my judge purse, my jurse for RCQs. And then I'm going to tell you what's in my jurse for larger events.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good idea.
My jurse for RCQs contains it's my pockets, and it is a pen and a notebook. That's it. Okay. That's my jurse. Cell phone also. Okay. I don't bring a charger. I'm operating lean. No, I'm going to go like if your phone battery can't last 6 hours,
get a new phone.
You got other problems. Okay, so that's my jurse for RCQs. Okay, for like Atlanta this weekend, I'm going to bring a backpack. In that backpack, I am going to have deodorant. I am going to have a thing of Altoids. I am going to have another shirt, so that when I can go out to dinner afterwards, I can put that on instead. Okay. I am going to have Sharpies. I am going to have pens. I am going to have at least 1 Nature's Valley granola bar, maybe 2. Okay. And I will have swapped it out since last time, because normally what happens is I put them in the bag, I don't eat them, and then they get crushed. So I got to take out the crushed one and put an uncrushed one in. All right.
Oh, the struggle is real.
Yep. I put in a phone charger, and a spare cord. And typically I will also have a box, like an empty box, for cards, because I will accumulate something somehow. And that's my jurse for large events.
Nice.
Just to clarify, you said a charger. Yeah. Do you mean like a plug into the wall charger, or are you talking a battery pack with a cable?
Dealer's choice. Me specifically, I get one of those little mag lock things that I can just latch on the back of my phone.
Yeah, I think portable charger, battery pack charger is A+ in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, wall charger will work, but then you're stuck looking for an outlet just like every other player in the room. Good luck.
Yeah, my current one has actually been recalled because of possibility of exploding.
Hey, mine too.
Awesome. Yeah, hey. Awesome. I still use it though because,
Me too.
I'm dumb.
I just don't leave it plugged in anymore.
How does it? Wait. Oh,
I mean, I don't leave it like plugged in when I'm not around supervising it. Like I don't leave it plugged in the morning when I go to work. Sort of.
yeah. Okay. Fair. All right. You will probably hear judges talk about having bigger items like printers and paper cutters in their jurse. Okay, I'm going to tell you that those judges are enabling bad TOs.
Well, not
Those
only
are paper cutters, printers. Those are things that TO is responsible for. If you're providing printers to TOs and
not only that,
what
a
are you,
lot
Mary
of
Poppins, just reaching in your bag and pulling out like hat racks and all sorts of things?
a lot of that isn't even used anymore, especially at smaller events, because we have Event Link and Companion that everything runs on. So
When was the last?
when was the last time we used a
Seeing
paper
judges
cutter
pull out
in a
land
store?
stations out of their trunk, and I'm just like, yeah, I get why, but also please never have to use that.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that's a TO responsibility, and that's maybe another thing that actually we haven't actually talked about. It's not on the list. Is knowing the difference between judge responsibilities and TO responsibilities.
For
Actually, I'm gonna hit that right now. Then, okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
As a judge, you are responsible for the event. Okay, the TO is responsible for the space that event takes place in and the infrastructure needed. Okay, so if the TO is asking you to bring your own laptop to run Event Link on, you can if you want, but technically they're supposed to be providing that. Okay, if the store needs paper for whatever, they need to provide it. Okay, you are responsible for the event. They are responsible for the infrastructure to allow the event to take place in the space. They're responsible for the bathroom. If someone pukes in the bathroom, if you're the judge, you ain't gotta pick that. You ain't gotta clean that up.
Not your pig, not your farm.
Right. If you're an employee of the store, hate to tell it to you, but get that mop. You're going in. Okay. But yeah, if the store is just sort of like you're like, I got to get behind the counter to turn the rounder of the event, and the store owner's like, I'm making a Yu-Gi-Oh trade, need to be able to look up cards. You need to be able to explain, hey, give me 30 seconds to get all these wonderful players that you have waiting for the next round to get them to the next round. Let's go.
And also when you're doing that, negotiate before, not the day of the event, as to who is actually going to be doing the round turnover and so forth. If the store doesn't want you behind the counter, that's their policy. Make sure that somebody is going to be on hand taking care of the things that need to be done. Speaking of stores, our next topic is, now that you're an L1, where can you work? Where should you be working? As a part of the process to become and achieve L1, you had a store that you were, that you said that you were attached to. It's probably the one down the block or 5 towns over. I'm not going to judge. And I know that everybody has a different situation as far as how close their nearest store is, or how close their nearest friendly local game store is. But once you become an L1, you are no longer really, you were never really super confined to that, but now you're definitely not. And you're in fact encouraged to work at other stores, so long as you're not an employee of the store that you became an L1 in, and they don't want you doing that, which is, kind of understandable. But you can work all over the state or region or province or wherever it is that you may reside, so long as the drive and event is rewarding enough to justify attending. So make sure that you're putting your name out there, introducing yourself to other stores, maybe even go out and play in an RCQ at another store and take time to introduce yourself to the judges and or staff there, so that you put your name out there as somebody that's interested and available to work.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I guess, hesitancy because, let's face it, a lot of judges are a bit more judges than not lean towards the introverted side. And some can definitely find it challenging to approach a new store, some people might just feel weird walking into a store and being like, hey, I'm so and so. Want to give me some money to do some stuff for you? And I can totally understand that. There's definitely a lot of relationship building that has to come from there. I personally wouldn't recommend just walking into a random shop and be like, hey, yo, pay me. What's up? I'm a judge. Not the best approach, obviously.
Yeah.
But there's definitely strategies that you can use to try and open conversations and start that dialogue. And for me personally, I don't know about how you all feel. For me, it all comes down to the relationship that you can have with the TO. I like to actually get to know the store a little bit before I try to work there. Because I've gone through a lot of LGSs in just moving around between multiple states while judging. Every time I've gone to a new store, it's always, hey, let me go in at a time that's slow, like maybe not in the middle of F&M, but like during the week, come in, do some shopping for some cards, do a little buying from them for a random thing that you're looking for, show them that you're supporting their business before you start going, hey, give me some of your money, please. And just try and find a way to connect with them and, find something in common and just vibe check them. Like, is this a person who you can observe at an F&M who is treating people with respect, who is mindful about things, who cares about the experience at their stores, or who's kind of checked out and just putting off bad vibes, and then maybe you choose, you know what, maybe this isn't the store for me to come and work at.
You also have the opportunity, and I would suggest, is if you are going to a new LGS, actually, I would actually say your first event is go to the F&M. I know more, which is the exact opposite than what Marcos was saying, but the reason being
I was just saying don't ask to work for them at your F&M. Definitely go play at F&M.
The store might actually have judges already, and if you roll in there and you're like, I'm a judge, pay me, and they already have judges, that's not going to endear you too much. So, just consider it like recon information gathering. It's the part of the Call of Cthulhu module where you're investigating the occult situation and gearing up and gathering information before you go in and the party gets killed or unalived, because we're on YouTube now. I can't say that.
Secret Shopper vibe check Call of Cthulhu test is valid and important because you will come across stores that you get an immediate sense of, hey, there's a problem here. And then you need to decide whether it's a problem that you want to try and help them fix, or whether it's so bad you need to exit stage right. If it's a problem that you want to fix, you have maybe one or two players that are clearly causing disruptions and difficulty for other players. That's maybe part of your introduction. Hey, I'm a judge. I'm interested in helping you out with these events. I've noticed that you might have one or two difficulties here with a couple of your players. Is that something that, you don't just launch into it, but there's some give and take. There's a conversation that happens, and maybe you get to that as a part of the conversation. Okay? That's all I've got.
Yep. All right. Next up, we're going to talk about uniforms. Is there a judge uniform?
No, yes. Maybe.
Sorta.
There's a convention.
Yes.
An
established protocol, a time-honored tradition, which isn't always followed anymore.
Correct.
Yeah.
So typically, the judge uniform is we'll say the legacy, the ideal, the mental image, the platonic judge. The platonic judge is black pants, black shoes, long sleeve black button down shirt with the judge branding on it. Okay, now that hasn't been super relevant in 7 years.
Yes.
8 years at this point. Okay, so you can still do that. That's the mental image people have of judges, not reality anymore. Because there's polos now that people can wear. There are, sometimes they'll let folks wear skirts or, God forbid, kilts, because that one judge, you just can't tell them to not wear a kilt and they still show up with a kilt anyway. Love you, buddy. But that's kind of persisted. The black pants or leg coverings, the black belt, and mostly black shoes. Basically, waist down is black. Waist up is a little more variable.
Yeah, some TOs have started giving out t-shirts that are branded specific to the event. Some have, some local game stores, for example, my LGS has shirts with their logo on it, and their store judge just has judge on the back where like the name would be on like a jersey style thing. That's his uniform, even though it doesn't matter whatever else he's wearing, but he has his black shirt that says the name of the store and judge on the back.
Yeah.
And
no capes.
Yep, no capes. If you're working a pre-release, whatever, LGS, whatever, shorts, t-shirt, no one's gonna care. Don't get formal. In fact, at your LGS and pre-release, we would encourage you not to be stuffy. Don't wear the black shirts, the black branded button up, whatever. Meh. Okay, because like you're probably gonna be playing against people, and you just don't want to have like I'm the judge in their face when you're playing in that event. But yeah, maybe the TO's cool with you wearing hats. Basically, the way it works is the TO's not going to tell you no. They're gonna let you wear whatever you think is best. So it's kind of on you to make sure that your overall appearance is as professional as the event and the venue dictate.
Yeah, and
or
that's
as professional as you want to be perceived.
Right. You'll find larger TOs have a dress code written out as a part of the messaging that they're sending to you. So please read those things carefully, understand them, and comply with whatever the request is. At the store level, you just want to put your best foot forward. You want your appearance and your professionalism both to reflect what you want to reflect and also what the store would want you to reflect. Is a t-shirt fine? Sure. But, arms ripped off of it? Not so much. Try and look nice. Approachable.
I just had this idea of like, the old like 50s where they'd have like the white t-shirt with like the pack of cigarettes rolled up in the sleeve. I'm just imagining
greased,
like
slicked back hair with a with a pocket
a black t-shirt with like your notebook rolled up in the sleeve the same way.
I'll just call you Squiggy and we'll move on.
Okay. All right.
Two things I want to point out. One, shoes. I know Bryan said, and the platonic ideal of a judge, yes, you want basically all black shoes, probably sneakers, whatever's comfortable for you, because realistically, the comfort, I think, is the most important. Some of these events, you're likely going to be on your feet the majority of the time that you're working. So make sure you're comfortable and walking around and that your feet aren't killing you afterwards. If they're not all black, it's not the end of the world. Just don't have it be like something so gaudy and attention grabbing that like people can't help but see that and not actually look at who you are.
I was judge manager at a GP. I think I was judge manager, and we had a judge come in with bare feet and flip flops.
No,
hard pass.
And this was at an era where I was able to send them away to get to put on proper shoes. It's like no, I don't. No one wants to see your toes. Like go put those away.
Speaking of putting that away, for the love of all that is holy, please buy a belt or suspenders or something to keep your pants up.
Yep.
Like, we're the ones who have to check other people in the venue if they are being slightly less than modest. Don't have your TO hiring you have to check you as well. Be professional.
Nobody wants to see your butt crack.
You'll also find that one or two TOs expect you to keep your shirt tucked in, and having a belt and or suspenders is a great way to help maintain that.
All right. So now, not that the first part of the episode has been, incredibly structured. Now we're gonna enter into like the rapid fire, at least written down lightning round. All right. So you've just become an L1. So back in the old days, it was I became an L1 and my TO wants me to run a GPT next week. GPTs were old Comprel events. Now it's I just became an L1. and my TO wants me to run an RCQ. What do I do?
And for those at home listening and chuckling about it, yeah, it happens more than you would think.
It's all the time.
Yeah.
All of it.
I'm of the mind that until you've had time to read through and understand the IPG, studied it some, and even hopefully shadowed or worked with somebody in a comp rel event who has more experience, I kind of prefer judges not doing this, but I also recognize that in this day and age, a 20-person RCQ has low overhead in terms of needing to know the IPG and how to apply it correctly all the time. So I've actually pulled back from the edge of saying don't ever do it, but please don't do it if you're not comfortable. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, my feelings on this are, I feel like you should not try to run a competitive REL event unless you have at the very least discussed it with somebody who has run plenty of them.
Yeah,
if not directly shadowed them if you have the opportunity to. Not so much saying that like you can't, because I don't think it comes down to what you can and cannot do. In the past, it used to be very specific, like I need to have an L2 to run my PPTQs back in the day. And that's not the case anymore, but that doesn't mean that a person who just passed their level 1 exam by the skin of their teeth should be running an RCQ that could bring in 40 people and expect to be as successful as the players may expect them to be. Because again, the big thing here is the expectation that players have of judges is that we are the experts. And you're kind of showing that you're not the expert if you're unsure of how to even handle a deck list, or that you need deck lists, or if you're just going and all the time whenever a player asks you a question because you've not thought about it, because why would you? You assumed it was just as easy as running an FNM.
This whole discussion brings something up. It brings something to mind that I think we should point out as an additional resource, and we probably should have had it listed earlier, so we're going to make a point of noting it now. There's a document out there on the web called the Annotated IPG. It's managed by somebody close and familiar to all of you. If you're going to
my document. Yeah. I love it. It's great. It's the best thing since sliced bread.
If you're going
it's better than sliced bread.
If you're going to run your first competitive event and you need to understand the IPG, please go read the Annotated IPG because it is fabulous.
All right.
Yep.
Well, okay. So y'all have offered your opinions. I'm going to say this. Okay. First off, you're gonna do it. Your TO is saying, "Hey, I want you to run an RCQ." You're gonna run it. Okay. Now I'm here to tell you that you're gonna do a terrible job. Like, okay, should you run it? No. Are you going to run it? Okay. The basic thing, we've all been to a restaurant and we've had the server it's their first day, right? And they've normally got someone shadowing them to help them out. You doing an RCQ as your first comp rel event all by yourself is basically like having a server at a restaurant and you've not had any training at all. You are going to make mistakes and you're not even going to know that you're making mistakes because you haven't been trained on how to do it.
Yep.
In general, this is my opinion, but I think you need to be a floor judge at a comp rel event, or rather work an event with a comp rel event with someone at least the barest of bare minimums if you are exceptional 2 times before you should try it on your own. Okay, and that is if you are the best of the best, cream of the crop. You know, the cream rises to the top macho man meme thing. Okay, that's my opinion. I'm going to get off my soapbox now. Okay, there are resources out there. Okay, this podcast itself has done episodes on how to run an RCQ. Listen to that. Go out, use your communication forums. You are still going to, even with all of that, you will probably be just okay. And the reason for that is most RCQs will go off, like, you're not going to run into any big problems. You're not going to run into a cheater and you have to do an investigation. You're not going to run into a problem that's going to cause you to end up on the front page of Reddit. But if you are not experienced in doing those kind of things, the odds of those having those problems do go up. But they're still less likely than they are likely to occur.
Yeah.
And more training means those things are even less likely to occur. All right.
Y'all listen to the Mossy one on this. He's right.
I am. I mean, this is a thing. Like,
but they are going to
do it. You're going to do it. It's a mistake. But the fact of the very real pragmatic fact of the matter is, as Charles said, most RCQs do not have enough players to justify paying for the second judge. And this is one of the problems is, we need judges to get the experience. We want judges to, get paid for their work, but no one wants to pay for the training. So, anyway.
So here's another rapid fire question for everybody. Since we're talking about this a little bit in this last question, what are some of your all's favorite recommendations for either a helpful Discord or a forum or another resource where people can go for help in their learning journey one way or the other?
My number one is any SOS channel.
Yes.
So many Discords will have something called an SOS channel that's, short for whatever it is, save our ships or save our souls or whatever. But basically, if you are in difficulty and you can't reach your mentor, or you need an immediate answer, or you just need a gut check, if you post your question in an SOS Discord channel, wherever it is, whether it's Judge Foundries or Gathering Points or somewhere else, there are rules gurus that have set it up so that they receive alerts when questions are posted there. And those people are really good at answering questions and generally very fast. So my favorite is a subset of what you're asking, and that's any SOS channel.
Can I? You've touched on a minor pet peeve of mine.
Okay.
With SOS channels. Okay. The first Judge SOS channels originated in the Southeast. Okay. So they are quite near and dear to my heart. Where my pet peeve is, and this is hopefully we'll make one of the Bryan Perlman's top 5 rants of all time. But the SOS, as you said, that is save our ship, send help. This is emergency.
Oh yeah.
Okay. That is typically you're in a live event. There is timed rounds. Clock is ticking. You need a response. You are sending up the bat signal right now. Okay, if it's something where it's like, I can wait like a couple minutes, just asking the rules question, the rules channel, or the policy stuff, you don't need to send up the bat signal, and you realistically will get a response in, maybe 30 seconds to a minute longer. But typically SOS channels are, this is live in an event, time extensions are being given, and that's why we justify putting the alerts and stuff like that. But what's happened is, I'm going to say commander players have learned that, I got a question about this interaction, and then they just post in the SOS channels, and it's, I don't know.
SOS is by definition emergencies. You're on your own. You have nobody else to check with. I just need somebody to confirm that I'm not out of my mind, right?
Well, not only that, because you could be sitting there playing with like 3 other people in like a casual game and have a rules question. Okay, that's not an emergency. An emergency is I'm in a CEDH tournament. People are playing for money. Okay, or store credit or whatever. I've spent 4 minutes trying to investigate this particular thing. I'm struggling. I've already looked. I do not want this time extension to go even longer. I need help.
Yeah.
Okay, if it's just, I just have a question and I don't want to wait, and you post in the SOS channel, you're not a night. You're also the kind of person that doesn't return the shopping carts to.
Yeah, it's important to understand its emergency use.
Right.
Don't sit there and noodle over a weird EDH question that you had the night before and then post it there because you are impatient or you think that's the best way to get your answer. Please use it when it's, your event is crashing down around your ears or you have a reasonably imperative situation where you need an answer.
What happens is when you just ask questions that you could ask in the other channels and just get a slightly more delay, is people then start to unfollow the channel. They start to turn off the bat signal, and then they don't come a running when it actually does go up because it's just another commander question.
You've called Wolf one too many times.
Right, and it's not even you, it's other people. So just, use it for what it is. Respect the rules. And that's an unwritten rule. Like, this whole thing right here is for unwritten rules. And the SOS channel should be for legitimate SOSs. Ships need saving, not just ships kind of impatient.
Yeah. Okay. Waving at another ship as you sail on the night.
Yep.
I'll throw out a couple of resources that I think are really good here, and we'll just kind of jump into our next rapid fire question. The knowledge pool for all of my old judges is back. I only recently became aware of this, but knowledge pool scenarios are live again in judge apps, in the forums. There is a forum specifically called Knowledge Pool where they will post questions and everybody can discuss what their thoughts are on art, and it's a fantastic resource. I used to comment on these all the time when I was first getting into judging as a newer L1 and even as an L2, and it was super, super helpful for me to just talk things out and see other people's thought processes. So love Knowledge Pool. There's mistrigger guides out there. So if you're ever unsure of, is this a detrimental mistrigger when you're at a competitive event, somebody has a guide out there that specifically goes through all of the mistriggers in every new set and says whether it is detrimental or not. And I hate to say this, but also JudgeCast. And I know that's weird because you're listening to JudgeCast. So why am I telling you about the thing you're listening to right now? But I want to remind everybody that we have been doing a series of videos dedicated for L1s to learn. Now, just because you've already certified as a level 1 does not mean you can't review these and still learn more in depth about what we were talking about in the moment, because maybe it didn't stick when you took your test. Maybe you found that was an area of weakness. Those resources are still available. And for those looking to help newer judges to become L1, share this resource as well as every other resource we've been talking about with them so that more people are just generally aware that these things exist.
All right. Okay, this one's just kind of more amusing than anything else. This is something that experience will teach you. But the question is I want to carpool to an event with a bunch of players. Should I? What's the answer to that?
No.
In a nutshell, no.
Don't do it.
No. Okay, why?
The bottom line is that when you sign up to work an event, you're signing up to be there half hour to an hour early, and you're signing up to stay until the event concludes. The people in your carpool who are players are not signing up to stay until the event concludes. If they wash out, O2 drop, or don't make the cut to top 8, there is a long and awkward staring contest that ensues for 3 hours while you sit at the top 8 table. That's why.
Yep. And it's even worse if you're not the one who controls the car. It's not your car. You're riding with other people, because those players can just decide to not go at the last minute.
Now,
yeah,
all of this is a generalization. There are some players out there that are part of a judge group that do travel together like this, and they're all very happy to sit around and stare at each other for 3 hours, during finals, and everybody's great and they all have fun stories to tell on the ride home. But for the most part, your first time out, try not to do this.
If they're mono players, oh, funny thing about mono, I was actually talking to my manager today, and I described. I was like, "Yeah, next quarter I'm gonna be working on mono," and then I said the project name, and she just looked at me and was like, "What?" I was like, "Mono project name." She's like, "What are you saying? What are you talking about?" And I had to sit there and suddenly like, okay, I'm a dork. I need to explain about this dorky card game that I disappear sometimes to go to work on, and these colors, and yeah, I felt so stupid, and that was today. And
Seriously?
right. And she
Love
just
it.
kind of was looking at me like, what are you talking about? None of these words are making sense. All right. Okay. How do I know what events are coming up, and how do I apply for those events?
Ooh. I want to highlight this because I realized I forgot one resource that I intended to mention earlier. There is a Discord called the Azorius Senate. It is run by former Judge Foundry board member Brooke Gardner-Durberman, and it is a great resource for judges to just talk over rule scenarios. There's study sessions that are planned in there, and importantly, there's a channel specifically for event announcements, because finding out where event applications are is tough nowadays, y'all. Like, they are scattered all over the place. You have to be in like the tournament organizers Discord, or specifically subscribe to this newsletter, or if you don't even know this Discord exists, then you don't see the applications for it until, oh wait, the event is about to happen, and you're wondering how they got judges for it.
Yeah. The unfortunate reality with figuring out how things work is TO's Star City, Pastimes, a few other ones will announce in their Discord. So you need to be in their Discord to see those things. There are a few other places, the Azorius Senate, I think the Gathering Place Discord
The
will
Gathering Point
the
has
Gathering
staffing
Point
solicitations
has
as well.
has staffing solicitations as well for like the large things. Then regional stuff will typically be in regional discords or Facebook posts. There is no one place, and Judge Apps was originally that one place, but then as larger TOs wanted control over the information and control over the workflow more, they started carving things out, and it started to become kind of fragmented. So unfortunately, the situation is you're gonna need to ask, like I said, get into one of the initial discords, like the Judge Foundry Discord, and then say, hey, what's the Pastimes Discord? Hey, what's the Star City Discord? Hey, are there any other places that regional events might be posted? And then get on those and set alerts to those channels where those event announcements are made.
So
Okay.
I want to step in for 1 second, because
Sure.
you rapid fire said this Discord, then that Discord, and so on. When you're just starting out, I don't want to call you a baby judge, but when you're a new judge, you can do these things, but you can also suffer from information overload very quickly. Please sign up for what seems immediately relevant and leave the rest of it for a little while. Get to a point where you understand your information flow and what's coming out at you from the different things that you signed up for, and say, hey, when you're ready, I need to join a couple more servers, or I need to join another region's Discord because I'm close enough to the dividing line, and maybe I can get some work over there too. Whatever your ability to absorb this information is, try not to exceed it, because it can become a fire hose.
Yeah. Like, for example, I just counted, I have 11 servers on my Discord that are dedicated exclusively to, this is a TO's server where they're going to post event solicitations in.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And it's a lot. And like, I do proactive things to make sure that I don't overwhelm myself. Like, for example, anything that I know is not an event that I care about anytime soon, like if the events that I care about them for are like 6 months out and I know that, I just drag that server down to the bottom of the list and just like, going back to MySpace top eights, like my top servers are the ones I want to engage with the most right now. And everything else, if I'm bored and just sitting on my phone for a little while, then I might scroll down a little further.
Yep. Just again, use alerts, and then
Yes,
set up alert. Take the time to set up alerts,
Right.
and then blissfully ignore everything that's not an alert if you so choose. All right. So for how to apply for those events, every single one of these events is going to have instructions. Fill out this Google form. Fill out this application on Judge Apps. It's a Google form. Go fill out this Google form.
Yeah.
And you apply to that event by filling out that Google form. All right. Now, those Google forms are often going to ask you questions, and you might need to sell yourself. So, assuming that you have not worked a large event, how do you get hired to work a large out-of-town event?
So for me, largely it's going to come down to references. To me, having somebody vouch for you has opened a lot of doors for a lot of people, including myself. And in that instance, you have to think about, well, how can I get somebody to be willing to put their reputation on the line with a tournament organizer and employer, even temporarily, to have them take a risk on me, a total unknown. So thinking about how you do that, well, you have to establish yourself. You have to run some events. You have to have enough experience that you can demonstrate to somebody else that you have some skill, that this is something that would be good for your growth, and that you can contribute something to the TO. Because it's the classic thing about getting hired for jobs in general. Don't come at them with the idea of why you want to work their event so bad. Come at them with the idea of how you're going to be helpful in making their event a success. And particularly the people who helped get you to level 1, because let's face it, nobody's doing it on their own. You had to have somebody at the very least administer the test for you, even if you soloed everything else. But you have a contact with at least one other judge who is about higher level than you are, who can potentially have either connections with that TO, experience working for that TO, or at the very least know some people who can pass along recommendations and referrals on your behalf, and then just get some good names of people who are willing to say some good words about you, hopefully honest things about you, but hopefully honest and good together.
So I guess step
and
one
be honest with yourself about what you are.
Is make sure you're worth that mentor is going to give you the referral.
100%. Right? Yeah. You can ask for the referral. The referral might not be great sometimes. And if you don't ask the question, will you give me a good referral? You might still get a referral. You just might not get onto the event at that point.
And that's the other thing. Can you use me as a reference is sometimes like, can I include and say that I worked with you, so if they have questions, they can come and ask. And generally, can you use me as a reference? Yes. I'm gonna probably say yes. But you probably want to be prepared to know what I'm gonna say about you, because I will always tell someone what I think about you.
Yeah, and this is something that we have harped on time and time again, so I'm going to spend 2 seconds on it and ask to move to the next question. Please do not put somebody's name down as a reference for you if you have not asked them first.
Yeah. That's another unwritten rule.
Never, ever do that, because you will find out that when that person finds out that you have done that to them, you will, it won't go well for you. It just won't. So please make a point of actually asking the question. Don't assume.
All right. What's a review? Do I need to write them?
In so many words, a review it can be a couple of different things, but the main thing that it is some kind of a after action report, either for an event that you have attended, a self or an evaluation of yourself, a self review, or it is a more particularly a review of somebody else that you have worked with, stating strengths, weaknesses, issues that you saw. You can cite individual calls that they took and resolutions if that helps. But a review is a way of evaluating somebody on paper or, well, in Judge apps. So reviews are very helpful. You should be writing them. Even if you only do a couple a year, it's good to have that practice and have that toolkit in your belt, because at higher levels, you'll need it. So you may as well start now.
I'm going to take a different approach.
Okay, fair.
Okay. I'm going to say, as a new L1, you do not need to write reviews. Okay. And the reason why I'm going to say you do not need to write reviews is because you probably have not received reviews. You don't know what a good one looks like. You probably got a perfunctory advancement review that was like, congratulations on passing the test. There you go. Like you don't know what a good review is. Now, we've had episodes in the past where we have talked about reviews, and if you're interested in writing them. But I would honestly suggest that you solicit reviews when you work multi-judge events. You solicit reviews from other people, and then you can get the review and see what it includes, and then kind of use that to inform what a review looks like. I don't think, like, if you haven't gotten a good review and you just start writing reviews, you're probably going to end up getting like reviews on your reviews. Like, yeah, I think it's problematic to know what a good review looks like if you've never received one.
You are correct. I think one key fact about reviews is that they are tools for growth and development. And I think that's for both the reviewer and the reviewee, because as the person being reviewed, you're going to be given some insight that is external to you and that is pretty objective typically about your performance. And it gives you something to work on and information to work on. But even as the reviewer, you have to actively be thinking about what is a good quality in a judge, or how does a person's execution impact the event that they're working, and really think about even your own processes to be able to write intelligently about somebody else's. I will give a shout out to an older blog. So this is definitely outdated information to an extent. However, I think it can give some good examples. On blogs.magicjudges.org, there was a blog called The Review Review. So REVIEW REVUE. Last post on here was from 2016, so these are not current reviews, but they do still give you some examples of what makes a good review. What are some examples? Like, let's critique somebody's review. Do this before you write your next review, things like that. And I think a lot of these do still hold weight if you're interested in what makes a good review.
I will say one last thing about reviews. Don't write reviews blindly without telling the other person that you're writing the review of them.
Yep.
They should be...
Especially if it's particularly negative.
They should be at least a part...
Sometimes you just have to say that.
Yeah, they should be at least part of the process, even if it's, hey, a heads up. So...
yeah, there is an etiquette around reviews. Like, if you are writing a review for a person, unless it is like complete and utter sunshine up the butt, it should be communicated to that person that you would like to write them a review, and you should have some conversations with them beforehand. That's just polite.
And if you want a review written about you, don't ask at the end of the event. Ask at the beginning.
And the reason for that is, if you want me to collect data on you for a review, ask before you do things that I can collect data on. If you just ask at the end, I don't know, I didn't write anything down. You did fine. I don't remember anything because I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, because that review is not going to be written 5 minutes after the person walks out the door. That review is going to be written, in the week or two after. And if they don't have notes, it's going to be rather lackluster. Okay.
All right. So we talked about RCQs, or actually not even RCQs. So you are a level 1 judge now. Okay. You have potentially been working F&Ms for free, or running Wednesday night drafts for free. And they are asking you about doing an RCQ. The question is, how much should you charge? Or should you get paid? Should you get paid for judging? What's the answer?
Yes.
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 Okay.
Yes.
Your time has
Being
value.
a judge is skilled labor. You are paying, if you're part of an organization, you're potentially paying dues. You want to make money. Get paid.
Yeah.
Now, how much?
And we have a whole episode dedicated to discussing what good compensation can be. Links for that will be in the show notes or the description below as well. Ultimately, whatever you get paid, make sure it's a non-zero number. And from there, it's just, what are you worth? What is your time worth? And how much out of your way are you going? Like, I'm not going to charge the same to run an F&M as I would for an RCQ that I have to travel an hour and a half to get to. Like, it's just entirely different scales. If I'm going to be at that F&M anyways playing, and I'm able to play and judge simultaneously, cool. Give me free entry into the event and, a couple of drinks throughout the night just to stay hydrated. Cool by me. Other people want some cash money or entry into a draft during the week. Go nuts. Whatever works for you.
Yep. Especially if you're already there playing, right? But if it's as Marco said, if it's an RCQ where you work Monday through Friday, and this is a Saturday for you, and it's going to be 8-9 hours, go figure out what your time is worth and ask for it. It's not unrealistic to ask between, I'm going to throw numbers out, $150 to $250 to work an RCQ
in the U.S.
It's not unreasonable.
Yep.
Okay,
that's bare minimum, I think.
Like, here's the other thing, though. If you are getting in that range, make it worth it. Like, if you're just like sitting watching your phone waiting for a judge call at an RCQ, you are not doing the work that someone getting paid $150 to $250 should be getting paid. Like, you aren't worth that money. You're not. Okay, so if you're going to ask for it, be worth it. And as opposed to just like, I'm just sitting around waiting to be ready. Like a TO is going to look at what you're doing and look at what they're paying. And if they do not feel that they got a deal or they got a value out of it, then you probably didn't do enough, and you're probably not going to be asked back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you make zero money.
So, what are conferences?
Fictional
Back in
things.
my day, we had conferences all the time. I didn't know about these conferences in the now times. Conferences are awesome. That's what they are. Like, let's just be real. Conferences are incredible. I hope to see more and more conferences coming back over the next few years. But conferences are really great ways for judges to gather and share knowledge. Because, like, we can talk at you for an hour and a half and you'll learn something, but it's
Hopefully.
a completely different experience than being in a room with other judges, asking questions back and forth, watching somebody who's prepared a presentation about something really in depth or put together a workshop for you to just learn how to be better at things that you want to be better at. That's a conference.
Or a summit. Yeah, they're very uncommon now. They used to be very common because Wizards used to provide foil support, and people love their foils, so they would come out to conferences, and they would come for the foils. Like, there's some people that say, I'm coming for the love of education. Okay, yeah, sure, and then where are those conferences? Where are all those people in conferences now? There's not a lot. There are a few, and big hats off, big respect to those people for doing those kind of things. But they're opportunities to learn. They're opportunities to also present. Like, I've done a lot of things, a lot of conference presentations, and got really good at public speaking as part of conferences, because this JudgeCast, this is not public speaking. This is me talking to like two of my buddies into a microphone in my house. You are not, as an L1, expected as a new L1 to present. You can if you want to. Okay. You might feel that you don't have anything to teach. You probably do. You just got to find it, the thing that you know a lot about. What are you qualified to talk about? You might not feel that there's a lot, but you know, you can talk to some people. We can explore some things. It might not be directly magic related, but like if you are an EMT, you know, you could probably do a presentation on, you know, common, you know, how to basic first aid that might be relevant at a magic event. That's a presentation that's happened, and that you don't need, you know, 10 years of judging experience to know that kind of thing because you're bringing it from your other job.
Yeah, my first conference presentation was based off of customer service and how to manage good customer service in judging. All you need there is a background in working in customer service like I had at the time. It works.
Yep. Yep.
Also, like when you think about conferences, like where does the phrase conferences even come from? Like you see a lot of professional development conferences out there. Maybe your work pays to send you to a professional conference to learn about something. You know, doctors go to conferences to learn about, you know, new medications and new studies and things like that to keep their knowledge sharp. Same thing with magic judges. Although for some reason we've gotten it into our heads that it has to be free, and not only free, you need to pay me to go learn to be better. I disagree with that. I think that putting forth the time and the effort and, you know, maybe even the money to go learn something is valuable because you're getting so much more back than whatever it costs you to get to that conference.
Conferences come in all shapes and sizes. A conference can be 150 judges, or a conference can be 3 judges. So long as there's a presentation happening, so long as there's an opportunity for networking, you are likely in the middle of a conference. One of my favorite non-conference conferences is mock tournaments, where we run a pseudo tournament using judges as players to create situations for newer judges like yourself listening to get experience taking calls firsthand and getting immediate feedback from players who are experienced judges. So conferences are great. If you have an opportunity to attend one, please do. I'm sure you'll find the time well spent. At least I'd like to think it will be. Hey, in the same vein as conferences, what are projects?
So, projects are activities that various judges have put together and maintain. Okay, and I'll talk on this because I think I do more projects than most. The annotated IPG, okay, that Charles mentioned earlier, that is a document that we maintain that breaks down the infraction procedure guide sentence by sentence decomposition. So when updates come out, we and I'm saying we because the project is a group of people that generate a result. The missed trigger guide, or the detrimental trigger guide, is a project that is a group of judges who maintain documents that tell you what triggers are detrimental and which aren't. The exemplar project is a project that is recognized as excellent. So there are a few projects. Knowledge Pool is a project. You can join these things. These things do exist. They do exist to provide value to other judges. Maybe not you. You know, specifically, you might not be in a situation where a particular project is useful for you, but they do exist, and maybe you would want to follow one and see what they produce, or maybe help out. You know, it could be something like, I am good at graphic design. Great, there are probably 4 or 5 projects that would love to have someone good at graphic design. JudgeCast is not a project. Sorry, you can't join. Invite only.
Can confirm.
Sorry, that has been a thing over time. People are like, "Oh, the JudgeCast project." We are not a project. We're a human being.
Fiercely independent and happily so.
Yes, fiercely independent.
So we have only a couple more questions here, and one that I think is really important for L1s to learn, and they sometimes don't get it in the training processes. What do they do if they mess up a ruling?
Don't.
Yes, don't.
Okay.
There you go.
Easy peasy. Done. Episode over. Don't. Okay.
Try again.
No, well, let's just say, okay, so let's assume for a second that, let's set this up. Yes. Okay, you were asked a question. You did not know the answer. You did the correct thing of you referenced the rules, you asked other people, and you got an answer, and you gave an answer. You did not guess. You did not YOLO it. Those are not things that you should be doing as an L1. Guessing should not be part of your vocabulary. But
nope.
You can be confidently mistaken. There have been times where a judge on an event floor will be telling me about this super interesting call that they just had, and then I will say something along the lines of, why didn't you just do a GRV rewind? And they'll be like, what? Or, well, that's not how that works. You know, so they were mad when you told them the creature was dead? What? You know, you can be confidently wrong. So you were confident, and because if you were unconfident, you wouldn't got information. But if you were confidently incorrect and then learned that you were mistaken, what do you do?
I mean, I hate to say that this should be obvious, but I'm going to point out how important this is for whenever you make mistakes in general, in life and in judging. Own up to it, take responsibility, and just own up to it. Hey, I made a mistake, depending on when you realize you made the mistake. If it was right afterwards, when you like walk away from the match, go talk to your other judge or the person you're shadowing or who's shadowing you, and then something gets pointed out to you and you go, oh no, you go and immediately tell that player or stop the match and try and recover from that mistake if you possibly can.
Right. The very first thing you do is you try and undo the damage you did. Okay.
Yes. Hopefully before it becomes damage. Like you might be actually able to save it.
But it
Sometimes
might be
though.
Around later, in which case, you know, you can't do. But what you need to do is you definitely need to talk to both of those players. Okay. Yep. So that they understand how the ruling should have gone. You apologize to both of the players, let them know if it can be fixed, great. Someone's probably going to get upset. There's possibly going to be a conflict, and you might be uncomfortable having this conversation. And if you want, like, you're an emotional support judge to be there with you, and you are able to bring them over to just kind of stand by and be a force for good and strength, and you can draw on. But I'm going to say, even if you're uncomfortable, you got to have that conversation. Because that's why you get paid the mediocre bucks. That's it might be uncomfortable. Being wrong sucks. Telling people that you were wrong sucks. Having people get mad at you sucks. Don't be wrong then.
Make sure when you're talking to them and telling them that you messed up, make sure you actually say the words, "I'm sorry, I made a mistake." Okay? That's how you start that conversation. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. And then you go from there. If you don't say anywhere in your talk with the players, I'm sorry, you have not apologized. And, be sincere about it, please.
I've heard so for example, in the medical field, if a doctor makes a mistake, that could lead to literal unaliving. And a lot of doctors struggle with telling patients or other people about mistakes that they've made. But I heard of doctors on YouTube who are talking about, like, hey, if you make a mistake, you should own up to it, talk to the people who you made a mistake with, because actually they're less likely to come after you and get upset at you and possibly sue you as a doctor if you just own up to the mistake you made, tell them what you're doing to make sure that doesn't happen again, and genuinely apologize and show that you care.
Would that be Dr. Mike?
It is.
Okay. Hey!
Shout out to... Yeah, we'll get Dr. Mike on the podcast.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Yeah, hashtag not sponsored. Shout out to Dr. Mike. Beep, whoop. Anyways. But, like, legit, like, if you own up to your mistakes and you show that you're a human and that you care about the fact that you made a mistake, that diffuses a lot of situations. Not all of them. Some people will still get salty because you might have just cost them something significant. You might have cost them their shot at a top 8 or the win in the finals. Like, it can happen, and it's always disappointing when that happens, but ultimately, if you show that you care and that you're not just flippantly making dumb rulings and being that other judge that everybody talks about, it shows that you're human and that you understand where they're coming from, and it's hard to be mad at somebody for that.
Let me give you a cause and effect thing here as a result of this. You make a mistake in a ruling. It causes a player to miss the cut to day 2 or whatever. You know that you made the mistake, but you don't go and find the player and apologize. Later that afternoon, that player's talking with 3 of their friends, and they're going around the play-by-play that you were involved in, and their 3 friends looks at them and say, well, that's not right. That player starts to get upset. That player gets mad. That player gets talked into a fervor, and then that player goes and finds the head judge. I can assure you, this does not work out well for you. I'm not saying that you're going to, on the spot be fired from the event. I'm not saying that you won't get hired again to work the event. What I am saying is it turns into this miraculous learning opportunity where you have several discussions about what happened. Don't go there. Do the right thing. Say that you're sorry. Apologize. Work through it. And when you're done doing it, if you are working an event with multiple judges, and you have time, and the head judge has time, or the appeals judge has time, fill them in, because they may hear about it either way. And if you're proactive about talking to them, things will go better. Yep. Nobody in authority wants to find out last.
I will add to that, if you think it is going to be potentially, it will blow up. Like, if the stakes are very high, get the head judge involved before you go and approach the players, because the head judge might want to come with you. Okay.
Absolutely fair. Yes, it's a good lesson.
Yeah. You what the head judge, when I am head judging anything, I would like to know that something could potentially explode before it explodes. Right?
Yeah.
So even if it's like you learn that there's a problem and it's like, oh, I got to go stop those players. Okay, typically what we're talking about here is you realize on your own, like you are doing an RCQ or you're at an F&M or something along those lines. Okay, messing up an F&M, the stakes are super low, super chill. That's actually probably the best place to mess up. So go ahead and mess up a whole bunch at your F&Ms and get the practice so that you're used to it. Don't actually do that. But what I'm saying is...
Not intentionally,
but... I mean, I was tongue-in-cheek, like trying to thinking that I was implying that. But getting used to going through the process of correcting mistakes in an environment where the stakes are very low is a huge help to learning how. So keep in mind that while we don't want to be wrong, you don't want to be wrong. Okay. If you are wrong at an F&M, the stakes are super low, so you don't need to get inside your head and freak out. And that's actually the best place to be wrong because the stakes are so low. Don't go out of your way to mess up, okay, and have to apologize. Obviously not, but still. Okay, the last thing is there are special pieces of software, okay? When we talk about level 1 tests, we are talking rules, we are talking jar, but we have not talked about how to use companion/event link. And then you might hear, if you go to a larger event, we're using Mailin or Purple Fox. What are those?
They are pieces of scorekeeping software that help you run an event, and it depends on what the event is trying to do. So for example, Event Link Companion, that is the software that hopefully you should at least have familiarity with on the playing side, because odds are that your local store is using Event Link and Companion to run things like your F&M or your pre-release. It's how you get your pairings every round. It's how you submit your match results every round. And that is kind of like the baseline tournament software for your store level events, and even some larger events at like MagicCon, that sort of thing. You do not have to know how to run this software. What you should hopefully know is the player-facing side of the software. So having played in pre-releases and at FNMs at your local game store, knowing how to enter match results is important, because when somebody comes to you when you're working as a judge and asks, hey, judge, how do I let you know who won? You can walk them through that process. But you don't have to know the whole back end of it, how to register players. That falls typically on the TO side more so than on your side.
Well, so scorekeeping at the LGS level, where we talked about the TO is responsible for X and the judge is responsible for Y, scorekeeping is one of those areas that is highly variable from store to store. Okay,
100%.
There are some stores that they will handle event creation and they will handle registration, and you handle entering of results, flipping rounds, starting clocks, stuff like that. There are other stores that are like, nope, we're doing all of it. And then there are yet other stores that say, YOLO, judge, make event, go. He is smart. He will make us strong. Go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So wasn't expecting a 1989 Star Trek The Next Generation reference.
No, we always expect that one, actually.
Yeah. So anyway, it is you definitely want to know, regardless of what those configurations are, you want to know the player facing side. For the back end, it is better to know how the back end works than not. I mean, that's kind of the way it is in all these cases, but you don't want to be particularly overwhelmed. I would start with knowing how to flip around. Players are responsible for entering results, so I would expect you to know how to look to see what matches are left and how to flip around once all the matches are in.
Yeah.
Okay. End of round, and this goes to this is kind of an unwritten rule that becomes kind of obvious. Since we have moved away from paper slips into players reporting things themselves, players are collectively awful at doing that, at entering the results when there is no physical minder there. So as a judge, you need to be, and this is at FNM all the way up to the Pro Tour, okay? Judges have to pester players to get the results in the mobile device. Put the thing in the thing. Player, do the thing. And then you need to watch them, because if you just remind them,
Yes.
and then you go off to go do something else, they just won't. So
They'll keep doing their post-match debrief about what their sideboard choices were, and I should not have attacked on turn 3 because of what's so. And then, yeah, you reminded them again, and they're just still sitting there, not looking at their phone, de-sideboarding, talking to their buddy every time.
So back when we had paper match slips, little side story. I was sent to spot on a table at end of round, and basically at that point in time, you would not have them enter it into their phones. You would have them enter it on a piece of paper, and you would take the paper back up to the stage. The particular table I was sent to, I didn't realize it at the time, had a very well-known pro player there. And at the end of the round, the player that was playing the pro player wanted to have a conversation about lines of play and what they should have done better. And it got very involved. And I asked the pro player, not once, not twice, but 4 times, to please fill the slip out so I could take it up to the stage. I did feel a little bad around the 3rd time, but at the 4th time, I just felt angry at having to.
I'm just the opposite. Like, I won't feel bad on the 3rd time. I'll feel bad on the 1st time, but then if I gotta say it again, I'm big mad internal.
Yeah. But you have to maintain that veil of customer service. You have to be polite.
Veil.
And you need to get the job done. So in the case of today, where a lot of times they enter it into their phone, just hang out until you see it happen. If you have software that you're actually able to enter the result, which Melee lets you do it, you can do Event Link Companion on your phone through a web browser app. If you have keys to the store's Event Link Companion, you can do it yourself. And sometimes you'll need to, because the players may not have phones or good connections or whatever. But just make sure you're verifying who actually won or what the end result was before you enter it, because entering the wrong result has consequences.
Yep. So we've mentioned Melee. So Melee is a more complex program that is typically used on larger comp-rel events. And at its core, it's still the exact same thing as Event Link and Companion, but it includes other bells and whistles like deck checks can be gone in, time extensions can be recorded, penalties can be recorded, because at a competitive REL event, we need to track these things. Okay, the user interface is not great on mobile devices. It is very much designed for a desktop and scorekeepers as opposed to judges on the floor of events. It does have a lot of finicky settings. So here's the important thing. Your team lead knows how Melee works. Okay, so if you are coming to this and they're like, I don't know how to do this, ask them, are we using Melee, and how can help me set it up, help me do the thing. Okay, once you learn how to do a few things, that's it. It's just like you set up your filters, and like time extensions go there, penalties go there, you can access deck lists here, go. All right. And then we will use, where in all of these pieces of software, the end of round, the thing that we were just talking about, getting the match slips, all of these tools, one of their primary uses at large events is end of round, getting all the match slips in. Okay, how they do it, slightly different, but the end goal is to identify the matches that aren't there and then find those players and get that result in the system. And that's kind of conceptually it. Like you hear about Purple Fox and it can do all this syncing and stuff like, nope, it's just a different way, get those results in. Melee, get those results in. That's it.
Yeah. And some TOs are even pretty restrictive about giving judges access to Melee. Like, not every TO or every event wants every floor judge to have access to Melee, because sometimes when you have access to Melee to do certain things, you also have access to do other things that can potentially break the event.
Yes.
So don't be worried if you go to, your first RC or one of these larger events that happens to be using Melee, and you see Melees happening, you see other people using Melee, but you're specifically asked not to. And it might just be that the team you're on has no need to use Melee. If you're on the floor coverage team, you probably don't need to use Melee other than just to be able to put in a time extension and a penalty if you take a call at a table. You don't need to see deck lists. You don't need to be able to enter results. It's just one of those things that they everything about this is to help make sure the event runs as smoothly as possible, and that includes cutting off any options for errors that can happen. So
you just stumbled on another point that we haven't brought up about, I'm an L1 and I'm going to a larger event. Okay.
Oh yeah.
When you're in the store, you are responsible for everything. When you're by yourself, you are responsible for everything, start to finish. At a larger event, you are on a team, and those teams have different responsibilities. And so there may very well be, like, if you're not on the deck checks team and someone comes to you with a problem that requires deck lists, you can just olay them over to the deck check team. Okay? In fact, make it their problem.
In fact, please do.
Right. Yeah. So what I'm saying is at these large events, you will be assigned a team, and that team will have a specialized function, and other teams will also have specialized functions. And so you can just let that, like, if one team is responsible for clocks, and you see that a clock's not going, go find the clocks team, point and go clock.
Yep.
And also, if you don't know a thing, ask. Because if you're like, if you're not on the clock team and you see clock not started, I'm going to go do the clock, you might just find out that there's a very good reason why that clock hasn't started and you just screwed something up. So you are never going to get in trouble for asking a stupid question. Okay? I'm not going to say there's no such thing as stupid questions, because there are stupid questions, but you're never going to get in trouble for that, because God we want you to ask. If you don't know the answer to a question, we would much rather have you ask it than just assume that it works a particular way and then have that way be wrong.
I have seen newer level 1s at some of their first bigger events specifically be recognized, and like the TO told me, because I recommended this L1 be put on staff, the TO specifically told me, hey, we really like this person because they like to ask questions and they don't just make assumptions about things and try to cowboy anything. We can trust that if they don't know something, they're going to ask us. And that's important because then you're not going to unintentionally just ruin something for the TO.
Yeah, the worst TO stories begin, I have no idea why that judge did that thing.
Yep.
Okay, so we've covered event link. We've covered, what to do if you mess up a ruling. Is there anything that we haven't covered?
Yes, tons of things, but this episode's
so
really
many
long.
Things.
Yes. But this is a good start.
Yes.
All right. Well, if that's the case, what are we doing next time? It's not
Secrets.
It's not quite time for another release notes, thankfully.
Probably another release notes.
Although that's coming soon. So that's our episode. Join us next time as we talk about something. All I know is it won't be release notes. Until then, you can send us an email at judgecast@gmail.com, like us on Facebook, follow us on BlueSky at judgecast.bsky.social, and on Twitter at JudgeCast. Don't forget to check out our show notes for these links and more, including our YouTube channel where you can find this podcast and our L1 Essentials series. While you're at it, hop onto our Discord server. Hey, remember that thing that we were talking about earlier? Discord servers are great. For judges new and old, fans, and anyone who supports the judging community. I'm Charles Featherer, and I keep it fair.
I'm Marcos Sanchez, and I keep it fun.
I'm Bryan Prereleases, and how many Call of Cthulhu investigators does it take to change a light bulb? All of them never split the party.
Good advice.